Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling smaller than you were before it started, like something invisible inside you just got crushed? That's the sting of disrespect. Not loud, not always obvious, but it lingers. It chips away at your self-esteem, your peace, and your belief in yourself. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize how deeply it's affecting them until it becomes a pattern, until their confidence starts leaking through the cracks. You may have tried to brush it off, to stay calm, to keep the peace, but what you're actually doing is bleeding out slowly while pretending everything's fine. Disrespect is never harmless. It's not just a bad mood or a passing comment. It's a mirror showing you what someone really thinks of you. And when you let it slide, when you let it pass without standing up, you're teaching them that you'll accept it. You're not only giving them permission to continue, you're slowly teaching yourself that this is normal, that this is what you deserve. That's a lie, and deep down, you know it. That tightness in your chest, that feeling you get after being dismissed, ignored, mocked, it's your soul rejecting what your mind is trying to tolerate. That feeling is truth. It's your inner self screaming, this is not okay. But you don't have to keep living like that. You don't have to keep shrinking just to avoid conflict or losing people. Because every time you allow someone to disrespect you, you trade a piece of your self-worth for their approval, and that is far too high a price. The cost isn't just in the moment. It shows up in how you see yourself. It shows up in your relationships, your career, your health, your motivation. Disrespect doesn't stay in its lane, it spreads. It infects how you walk through the world, how you speak, how you dream. And the only way to stop it is to decide right now that your peace, your power, your dignity matter more than anyone's comfort. You may not feel strong yet. You may feel nervous just thinking about standing up for yourself. That's normal. But strength isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the presence of it. This isn't just about handling other people. It's about rising into a version of yourself that commands respect without ever begging for it. That version of you already exists. You're not becoming someone new. You're remembering who you were before the world told you to sit down and stay silent. So if you've ever felt disrespected, overlooked, or devalued, stay with this. Because by the time you finish this video, you'll have the mindset, the clarity, and the courage to finally take your power back. You'll stop reacting and start leading. You'll stop tolerating and start transforming. And once you learn how to respond to disrespect, not with silence or anger, but with unwavering self-worth, you'll never feel powerless again. Disrespect often starts in small, almost invisible ways. A look that lingers too long with disapproval, a tone that cuts even when the words sound polite, being interrupted mid-sentence, being ignored in conversations you should be part of. These moments may seem trivial, but they carry weight. They are signals, messages about your perceived value in someone else's eyes. And when those moments add up, they shape the story you start to believe about yourself. That maybe your voice doesn't matter, that maybe it's easier to just keep your head down. But the truth is, people treat you according to the standards you set. If you tolerate disrespect, it will grow. If you excuse it, it will repeat. And if you internalize it, it will own you. You need to understand something critical. Most people who disrespect you aren't thinking about your worth. They're testing your limits. They're projecting their insecurity, their need for control, their emotional immaturity onto you. They're watching how much you'll accept without pushing back. This has nothing to do with your value and everything to do with what you signal you'll allow. Disrespect is not always loud. Sometimes it's wrapped in jokes, hidden in sarcasm, delivered with a smile. And that makes it even more dangerous because it confuses your instincts. You start wondering if you're overreacting, being too sensitive, or imagining things. But that's how disrespect hides. It camouflages itself so you second guess the very boundaries meant to protect you. Clarity is power. You must become so grounded in your own self-worth that you don't need to analyze someone's tone to know your boundaries were crossed. You don't need to replay the conversation 100 times just to justify your discomfort. Your body knows. That tightness in your throat, the unease in your chest, the tension in your gut, those are not random. They are your internal alarm bells. Respect yourself enough to listen to them. When you ignore those signals, you betray yourself. And the more you betray yourself, the harder it becomes to trust your own voice. But when you start to stand in your truth unapologetically, you rebuild that trust. You rebuild that fire. You were not born to be walked over. You were not created to be silent. in the presence of people who shrink you. You were built with dignity. You were wired for strength. And every time someone disrespects you, they are not showing who you are. They are showing who they are. Never confuse the two. You do not have to carry the burden of someone else's behavior. What you do have to carry is your response. That is where your power lives. Not in controlling others, but in controlling your reaction, in knowing when to speak, when to stand firm, when to walk away, when to rise. This is where everything begins to change. Not when they start treating you better, but when you stop accepting less. Not when they finally see your worth, but when you refuse to let anyone define it. There is a dangerous lie that many people live by, that staying silent is noble, that letting things go makes you stronger, that ignoring disrespect somehow makes you wiser or more mature. But silence in the face of repeated disrespect isn't strength. It's surrender. It's not peaceful. It's passive. And every time you stay silent to keep things calm, you're planting a seed of resentment deep inside yourself. That silence grows roots. It becomes tension in your body, anxiety in your chest, doubt in your mind. You smile on the outside while something inside you collapses. That's not harmony. That's self-abandonment. You were not created to be agreeable at the cost of your soul. You were not put here to become a doormat for someone else's mood swings, power games, or superiority complexes. Respect doesn't come from being overly nice. It comes from being clear. People don't respect what you say with a trembling voice. They respect what you show with unwavering conviction. And when you choose to stay quiet just to avoid conflict, you're teaching them that their comfort matters more than your boundaries. You're training them to ignore your limits because you never enforce them. That's how people begin to think they can say anything, do anything, cross any line, because you won't stop them. But you can stop them. Not with rage, not with revenge, but with presence, with posture, with words spoken calmly but firmly, words that say, I see what you did. I will not let it continue. I value myself enough to stop pretending this is okay. That shift, when you decide that your voice is worth using, is one of the most powerful turning points of your life. It's the moment you stop being shaped by the world and start shaping the world around you. You stop shrinking and start expanding. And the more you speak up, the more you realize how much you had been holding in, how much of your light was hidden behind the fear of being misunderstood, disliked, or rejected. Respect is not something you wait to receive. It's something you require. You don't earn it by pleasing people. You claim it by being unapologetically yourself. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you accept, and what you walk away from. Your silence tells them what they can get away with. Your words tell them where the line is. And your actions, especially the ones you take when it's hardest, tell them who you really are. If you want peace, don't chase approval. If you want respect, don't hide your standards. If you want freedom, don't bite your tongue just to make someone else feel comfortable. Your truth matters, your boundaries matter, your voice matters. And the moment you stop silencing yourself to protect the feelings of those who disrespect you is the moment you finally protect your own. That is when true respect begins, not from them, but from you. When someone crosses your line and you do nothing, they don't just repeat it. They make it a habit. And over time, that habit becomes your environment. Your life begins to reflect what you tolerate. Disrespect doesn't just come from others. It begins the moment you ignore your own standards. It begins when you second-guess your worth just to avoid being seen as difficult. You bend, you shrink, you tolerate, and slowly, you begin to forget the weight of your own value. But you cannot build a strong life on a weak foundation. That foundation is your self-respect. And self-respect is not passive. It is intentional. It's built through boundaries that are not suggestions, but non-negotiables. You don't set boundaries to control others. You set them to protect your peace, your energy, your identity. You set them to guard the parts of yourself that are sacred, your time, your values, your mental clarity. And the moment you allow someone to trample those without consequence, you send a message that your well-being is optional, that your needs are secondary, that your dignity is negotiable. But it's not. You are not required to be everything to everyone. You are not responsible for keeping others comfortable at the expense of your own truth. The people who truly respect you will never be offended by your boundaries. And the ones who are offended, they were benefiting from your lack of them. Every time you draw a line, you reclaim a piece of your identity. You tell the world, and more importantly yourself, that you are not here to be used, dismissed, or belittled. You are here to stand tall, speak clearly, and move through life with purpose. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are doors you decide who walks through, and you don't need to explain, defend, or justify them. Clarity is enough. You're allowed to say no without a reason. You're allowed to walk away without guilt. You're allowed to protect your peace without apology. There's nothing selfish about protecting your space. There's nothing rude about refusing to entertain behavior that drains you. In fact, the most respectful thing you can do for yourself and for others is to be honest about what you will and will not accept. That honesty might shake some relationships. It might change how certain people treat you, but that change is necessary because you were not meant to carry the weight of everyone's expectations while abandoning your own needs. You were meant to live rooted in truth, surrounded by people who see you, value you, and rise with you, not walk over you. Every firm boundary you set becomes a building block of your power. Every time you say, "I will not allow this," you rise. Every time you refuse to compromise your self-worth to keep the peace, you evolve. And the more you honor those lines, the more others are forced to honor them too. Respect doesn't start with the world. It starts with how fearlessly you protect what matters inside you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. You don't need to justify your decisions to people who have already proven they don't value your boundaries. One of the most powerful things you will ever learn is to say no, clearly, firmly, and without guilt. Not because you're being difficult, not because you're trying to push people away, but because you are finally honoring your worth. Because you are no longer willing to overextend yourself to make others comfortable while you suffer in silence. Because you are done shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold your truth. You've been conditioned to believe that you must explain yourself to be valid, that your no is only acceptable if it comes with a reason, an apology, a softening of the blow. But your no is sacred. It is a boundary in motion. It is your right, not a privilege granted by someone else's approval. Every time you feel the pressure to over-explain, remember this. People who respect you will accept your no without demanding a reason. People who don't respect you will look for loopholes. Your job is not to defend your boundary. Your job is to stand in it with quiet strength and unwavering clarity. There is no strength in saying yes when your soul is screaming no. There is no wisdom in allowing people to walk all over your time, your space, your energy, just because you're afraid of looking selfish. Saying no does not make you unkind. It makes you self-aware. It shows that you know your limits. And when you honor those limits, you protect not just your peace, but your purpose. You make space for what truly matters. You create room for real connections, relationships built on mutual respect, not silent sacrifice. Every time you hesitate to say no, ask yourself this: what am I sacrificing in exchange for their comfort? Your rest, your mental clarity, your self-respect? You don't win respect by giving yourself away. You win respect by knowing when to stop giving and start standing. People may push back. They may guilt you, question you, even try to shame you. Let them. That's not your burden to carry. Your responsibility is to stay grounded in truth, not in their reactions. Silence in moments of disrespect trains others to ignore your value. Over-explaining in moments of clarity teaches them that your boundaries are open to negotiation. But when you speak with quiet confidence, when you say no with certainty and move without hesitation, you teach them something new. You teach them that you've changed, that you've grown, that your days of quiet suffering are over. And the more you practice this, the easier it becomes, the more natural it feels. Because the truth is, you never needed their permission. You only needed your own. Protecting your peace is not weakness, it's wisdom. And from this moment forward, let your no be full. Let it be final. Let it be free of fear. Because when you stop apologizing for your boundaries, you finally start living by your standards. There is a point where protecting your peace becomes more than a choice. It becomes a lifestyle. And to live that way, you must master something most people never do: the ability to emotionally detach. Not as a form of indifference, but as a form of discipline. Emotional detachment is not about being cold. It's not about ignoring your feelings or acting like nothing affects you. It's about refusing to let someone else's behavior control your state of mind. It's about standing in the storm without becoming part of it. It's the moment you stop reacting and start responding with intention. When people disrespect you, they want a reaction. They want to see you break. They want to feel power over your peace. Because the moment you get defensive, angry, or shaken, they know they've pulled you into their chaos. But you don't have to accept that invitation. You don't have to play their game. Emotional detachment means seeing the disrespect clearly but choosing not to absorb it. It means hearing the insult, recognizing the manipulation, observing the disrespect, but not letting it touch your identity. Because your worth does not shrink to fit someone else's perception. Your value is not up for debate, no matter how loudly someone tries to question it. The power lies in your ability to remain centered, to feel the fire rise inside you, and still stay grounded. That control over your own emotional state is a form of strength that nothing external can shake. Emotional detachment gives you perspective. It allows you to recognize that their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. Their words do not define you. Their tone does not decide who you are. Their disrespect is their weakness trying to find a crack in your strength. You were not born to react to every slight, every tone, every jab. You were born to lead your own emotional reality. The moment you detach from their chaos, you reclaim your authority. You stop dancing to the rhythm of their dysfunction and start living by the rhythm of your own clarity. It doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting your feelings control your next move. You choose stillness over chaos, silence over drama, decisiveness over emotional turbulence. When you stop giving energy to those who drain you, you preserve that energy for what truly matters. And over time, the things that used to trigger you no longer hold the same power. You stop flinching. You stop explaining. You stop seeking validation. That's when you become dangerous, not to others, but to every version of yourself that used to crumble under pressure. Emotional detachment is the art of keeping your soul clean in a dirty world. It is the decision to honor your peace so deeply that no one else's noise can shake it. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. And once you learn to guard it with stillness instead of struggle, you'll discover that your silence can say more than your words ever could. The moment you stop reacting is the moment you start reclaiming control. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain unmoved, something powerful happens. They lose access to your emotions, your attention, your energy. And when they no longer have that access, their power over you fades. Disrespect thrives on your reaction. It feeds on your frustration. It grows in the space where you let someone else dictate how you feel. But when you choose silence over outrage, composure over chaos, you shift the entire dynamic. You stop being the one who's pulled and start being the one who leads. Your calmness isn't weakness. It's proof that you no longer live at the mercy of someone else's immaturity. It's a quiet declaration that says you no longer control how I move. And the truth is, not reacting does more than protect your peace. It exposes their intentions. People who try to control you through disrespect, manipulation, or mockery are used to getting a response. They want to throw you off balance so they can feel powerful. But when you meet their noise with stillness, their tactics collapse. Your lack of reaction becomes a mirror. It shows them the emptiness behind their behavior. Detachment allows you to stop performing. You no longer feel the need to defend yourself against every false assumption. You no longer chase validation in spaces that never saw your value. You stop explaining, proving, or softening your truth just to keep things smooth. And when you stop doing that, you begin to rise. You move differently. You become untouchable, not because you don't care, but because you finally understand what's worth your energy and what isn't. Your silence becomes sacred. It becomes your armor. It becomes the line between your peace and their chaos. You have nothing to prove to people who refuse to understand you. You have no obligation to keep showing up in spaces that only drain you. Sometimes the strongest response is no response. Not because you're avoiding the truth, but because you've already outgrown the need to argue with it. You've already decided that your energy is a limited resource, and you will not waste it on those who haven't earned it. That decision is freedom. That decision is power. When you master the ability to stay calm under pressure, to walk away without explanation, to protect your inner world without making noise, you reach a new level of strength. You are no longer ruled by the external. You lead from within. You speak when it matters. You move when it counts. And when others try to pull you into their emotional chaos, you simply don't step in. You rise above it. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to react to be strong. The most powerful people are not the loudest. They are the ones who carry peace like a weapon, who stand tall in silence, and who understand that not every battle deserves their presence. You are one of them. Keep rising. There is a silent power in holding your ground without raising your voice, in knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need to prove it. When you carry yourself with silent strength, people feel it. They sense it in your energy, your posture, your eyes. You don't have to argue to be heard. You don't have to shout to be seen. There is a kind of strength that speaks through presence alone, a calm, steady, unshakable force that makes others think twice before crossing you. It's not about intimidation. It's about certainty. It's about sending a message without speaking a word. I know who I am, and I don't need your permission to stand tall. This kind of presence is not given, it's built. It comes from doing the inner work, from facing your fears, healing your wounds, reclaiming the parts of yourself you once silenced to be accepted. Silent strength is not something you're born with. It's something you become when you stop trying to please and start living in alignment with your truth. It's the moment you decide that your peace will no longer be disturbed by noise that doesn't deserve your attention, that you don't need to react to prove anything, that your presence alone is enough to shift the room. People who rely on disrespect to feel powerful are uncomfortable in the face of quiet confidence. They can't manipulate what they can't read. They can't provoke what doesn't flinch. And when you no longer give them access to your emotional space, their influence dies. Your silence becomes their frustration. Your calm becomes their confusion. Because what they were trying to control now stands outside their reach. You stop being a target when you stop being available for dysfunction. This isn't about being cold, it's about being clear. It's about knowing that real power doesn't need to be loud. That real respect is earned not through confrontation, but through composure. That the strongest energy in any room belongs to the one who doesn't need to dominate it. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone who can't see your value. You don't have to explain yourself to those who've already decided not to listen. Your job is not to convince, it's to stand. It's to embody a level of self-respect that refuses to bend for approval. Silent strength is not passive. It's deliberate. It's intentional. It's the discipline to stay grounded when everything around you wants to pull you off center. And the more you live from this place, the more you attract people who respect you. Because people mirror energy. When you walk with quiet certainty, the world begins to respond in kind. Not because you demanded it, but because you became it. You became the energy of self-respect, of clarity, of calm power. And that energy cannot be disrespected. It can only be met or removed. Let your presence speak what your words no longer need to say. Stand in silence and let that silence echo your strength. When you walk into a room with quiet certainty, people feel something different. Not because you're louder, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because your energy says everything your words don't. You no longer seek permission to take up space. You no longer shrink to make others comfortable. You show up with presence, with truth, with self-respect. And that presence demands attention, not through force, but through alignment. It's not about what you wear, what you say, or what title you carry. It's about how you carry yourself. Because people don't just hear your words. They feel your confidence, your clarity, your conviction. Your body speaks before your mouth ever does. The way you hold your head, the way you make eye contact, the way you breathe when you walk. These small signals tell people everything they need to know about how they should treat you. If your shoulders are slumped, if your voice is timid, if your posture says uncertainty, people will unconsciously adjust their behavior to match. But when you walk with purpose, stand tall with calm composure, and speak with intention, the energy shifts, respect rises. People don't respect noise, they respect certainty. And certainty is something you build from within. You've spent too long second-guessing yourself, watering yourself down, trying not to offend, trying not to stand out. But that version of you was built on survival, not truth. That version of you was protecting wounds, not power. Now is the time to remember who you are beneath the noise, beneath the conditioning, beneath the pressure to blend in. You are not here to be invisible. You are not here to be accepted by everyone. You are here to lead yourself, to walk in alignment with your highest self, to become someone who doesn't beg for respect because you become someone who naturally commands it. That starts with presence. It starts with knowing that the world responds to the energy you project. That your tone, your stillness, your eye contact, your posture, they are not just habits. They are statements. Statements that say, I respect myself. I know what I deserve. I do not tolerate disrespect, not because I'm trying to prove anything, but because it no longer aligns with who I am. You don't need to fight to be taken seriously. You just need to show up consistently as someone who values themselves. The people who used to mock you will grow quiet. The ones who once challenged your worth will begin to question their own. Because when you radiate grounded confidence, people either rise to meet you or walk away. Let them. Your goal is not to be liked by all, but to be respected by those who matter, and most importantly, by yourself. You are not asking to be treated with dignity. You are embodying it. Let that be your message. Let your presence lead the way. And never again apologize for taking up the space you were born to own. The most powerful thing you can ever do when faced with disrespect is to call it out without fear. Not with rage, not with resentment, but with clarity. When you speak the truth directly, you dismantle the hidden power of the behavior. You shine a light on what others try to normalize or minimize. Disrespect loses its grip the moment it's exposed, because silence keeps it alive. Tolerance keeps it growing, but truth interrupts it. Truth brings it to the surface, where it can no longer hide behind excuses or passive aggression. And when you name it with strength, you remind everyone, including yourself, that you are not someone who stays quiet when a line is crossed. Confrontation doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. True confrontation is calm, measured, intentional. It comes from a place of self-respect, not emotional reaction. When you speak from that place, you don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to ask for understanding. You simply state what is real. That crossed a line. That was not okay. I will not accept that. Clear, simple, final. This is how you take back your space. This is how you let someone know without argument or apology that their behavior has consequences, that their words won't pass unnoticed. That you've drawn the line and you're standing firm. When you call out disrespect, you're not causing conflict. You're refusing to live in denial. You're breaking the cycle of silence that allows toxicity to thrive. And yes, it may make others uncomfortable. It may trigger defensiveness. But that discomfort is not your burden. It belongs to the one who disrespected you, not the one who found the courage to speak. Your role is not to keep the peace through silence. Your role is to create peace through truth. Because anything built on silence is fragile. It's temporary. It crumbles under pressure. But when your boundaries are built on truth, they become solid, unshakable, real. This is how you reclaim your voice, not by shouting, but by refusing to pretend. Not by waiting for permission, but by standing in conviction. The more you speak up, the more natural it becomes. The more you enforce your boundaries, the more others learn to respect them or remove themselves. Both are wins. Because your peace is no longer negotiable. Your worth is no longer a question. Your presence is no longer something you dilute to avoid being seen too clearly. You are allowed to speak with firmness. You are allowed to call out what harms you. You are allowed to say, "This ends now." And the moment you do, you rise. You take back control. You create space for real respect to grow. Let your words be few but full of strength. Let them be honest, direct, and unapologetic. Because when you use your voice to protect your value, you become someone no one dares to disrespect again. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone has earned the right to be close to your energy, your mind, your heart. There's a deep strength in choosing who you engage with and who you don't. When someone continues to disrespect you despite being called out, despite being given chances, your silence becomes more powerful than your words. Your distance becomes your protection. Sometimes the boldest move you can make is to disengage completely, not out of weakness, but out of self-mastery. Because walking away isn't losing. It's refusing to play a game where your dignity is on the line. You teach people how to treat you not just through confrontation, but through the boundaries you enforce with your presence. If they can't respect you, they shouldn't have access to you. If they mock your voice, they don't deserve your conversation. If they cross your boundaries, they don't belong near your peace. Let your absence be louder than any argument. Let it be a signal that disrespect has a cost, and that cost is you. When you remove yourself from the environment that keeps violating your value, you reclaim your power in full. You take back your energy. You take back your time. You stop trying to fix what was never your responsibility to carry. It's not your job to keep proving your worth to people who refuse to see it. You are not here to convince the blind to open their eyes. You are here to stand tall in your truth and walk away from anything that refuses to honor it. Some people will only understand your value once they no longer have access to it. Let them. That realization is theirs to deal with, not yours to wait for. Your role is to rise, to protect your space like it is sacred, because it is. You are not being cold when you cut someone off. You are being clear. You are not being cruel when you go silent. You are being wise. Not every disrespect needs a response. Some simply need your exit. Detaching from toxic people is an act of self-respect. And when you do it, you'll feel it immediately. The shift, the peace, the return of your energy. You'll breathe deeper. You'll think clearer. You'll begin to remember who you were before you started shrinking to accommodate others' bad behavior. You're not here to tolerate mistreatment, to prove you're kind. You're here to protect your mental and emotional clarity like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. When you stop showing up for those who keep crossing your lines, you don't lose anything. You gain yourself. You create space for healthy respect to enter. You become the standard, not the exception. And you begin living from a place of strength that no one can steal from you again. That is the power of walking away. That is the quiet revolution of refusing to be disrespected twice. There is a freedom that comes when you finally stop internalizing someone else's disrespect. When you realize that their behavior is a reflection of their limitations, not your worth. You are not broken because someone failed to see your value. You are not weak because you tolerated it longer than you should have. What matters now is that you stop letting their actions define your identity. You are not what they said. You are not who they treated you as. You are who you decide to be, starting now. Disrespect wounds because it triggers doubt. It whispers lies that maybe you are too much, or not enough, or somehow both at once. But none of that is true. That's just the echo of someone else's pain projected onto you. And your healing begins the moment you choose to separate their voice from your truth. You don't have to absorb the judgment of someone who hasn't done the work to understand you. Their opinion does not hold weight unless you carry it. You get to put it down. You get to unlearn every belief you adopted while trying to keep the peace at the expense of your own. The greatest revenge is not in proving them wrong. It's in no longer needing their validation. It's in choosing your peace over their chaos, your power over their drama, your clarity over their confusion. You stop fighting for a place at a table where respect is not served. And you start building your own table where you sit with self-respect, self-trust, and quiet confidence. You no longer perform to please people who can't even appreciate your presence. You simply become someone they cannot shake, cannot define, cannot own. This is not about bitterness, it's about boundaries. It's about deciding once and for all that your energy is sacred, that your self-esteem is not open for negotiation, that you no longer chase love, approval, or validation from people who are emotionally bankrupt. Because once you make that shift, everything changes. You become unshakable. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with purpose. You say no without guilt. You walk away without explanation. You stop explaining your worth and start embodying it. And when you do, you attract a different world, one that mirrors back the respect you've cultivated within, one that doesn't demand that you shrink or tolerate or beg to be seen. You create space for healthy connection, honest communication, and mutual growth. But it all starts with a decision to stop tolerating disrespect and to start honoring yourself like your life depends on it. Because it does. The moment you stop absorbing someone else's toxicity is the moment you start breathing your own truth. And in that truth, you become powerful beyond measure. Not because they changed, but because you did. And that kind of change can never be undone. You were never meant to live in a constant state of proving yourself. You were not born to beg for kindness, to earn the right to be respected, or to apologize for your existence. The people who fail to honor your worth do not hold the key to your identity. You do. And once you realize that, you stop shrinking to fit into spaces that are too small for your truth. You stop editing your voice to avoid making others uncomfortable. You stop walking on eggshells in places where you deserve to stand tall. Self-respect is not arrogance. It's not hostility. It's not ego. It's a quiet, unwavering knowing of who you are and what you deserve. It's the decision to stop tolerating treatment that leaves you questioning your value. You don't owe anyone access to your energy if they repeatedly misuse it. You don't have to keep allowing someone to stay in your life just because they've been there a long time. Longevity doesn't equal loyalty. Familiarity doesn't mean they're healthy for your growth. And forgiveness doesn't mean you must allow repeated disrespect. Your healing begins when you protect your peace more fiercely than you protect anyone's comfort, when you prioritize your mental clarity over the illusion of connection, when you choose truth over tolerance. That means being willing to walk away, not out of anger, but out of self-love, because you've outgrown the need to explain why you deserve basic decency, because you're done trying to decode mixed signals and hidden intentions. You deserve people who communicate with clarity, act with integrity, and treat you with consistency. You don't rise by lowering your standards, you rise by raising your awareness. When someone shows you how little they value you, believe them. Not to become bitter, but to become better at protecting your spirit. There is nothing wrong with having high standards. They don't make you difficult, they make you discerning. And people who genuinely care will never make you feel guilty for having boundaries. They will honor them because they respect you and because they respect themselves. Growth is choosing discomfort over disrespect. It's choosing silence over reacting. It's choosing solitude over fake connection. It's the ability to stand alone without feeling alone. Because deep within, you are whole, you are complete, you are enough. The opinions of those who fail to see that no longer matter. Their approval is no longer your fuel. Your own belief in yourself is the fire. And that fire cannot be extinguished by rejection, by rudeness, or by ignorance. Let them think you're too much. Let them say you've changed. Let them walk away. The right ones will stay. The strong ones will rise with you. And the weak will fade into the background of a story they no longer have the power to narrate. You are not here to chase respect. You are here to command it by the way you carry yourself, by the way you protect your energy, and by the way you rise every time they underestimate you. When you begin to honor your own worth, something powerful happens. You stop asking for permission to be seen. You stop waiting for validation from people who were never equipped to recognize your greatness. You stop minimizing your potential just to make others feel more comfortable with their mediocrity. And in that moment, you step into a new identity, one shaped by clarity, conviction, and courage. The kind of identity that refuses to settle for halfway love, halfway effort, or halfway living. You were not created to play small in a world that demands your fullness. You were not born to shrink just so others don't feel insecure in your presence. Your power lies in your ability to be unapologetically yourself, not the watered-down version that people have conditioned you to become. Not the version that's afraid to speak up, to shine, or to say no, but the raw, real, and relentlessly growing version of you. The version that is tired of pretending, tired of overgiving, tired of wearing masks to fit expectations that were never yours in the first place. There is nothing more liberating than finally realizing that being true to yourself is the most powerful rebellion you can make in a world that constantly pressures you to conform. You do not owe anyone the diluted version of your soul. You do not exist to make yourself smaller so that others can feel bigger. You are here to expand, to rise, to break every invisible ceiling that ever tried to box you in. You are here to challenge what's comfortable, to dismantle what's false, and to embody the version of you that no longer needs external applause to feel internal peace. Because your value was never tied to how well you were accepted by the crowd. It's always been about how deeply you accept yourself when the crowd is gone. Some will misunderstand your confidence and label it arrogance. Some will resent your growth because it reflects their stagnation. That is not your problem. That is not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for other people's discomfort with your evolution. You are only responsible for honoring the truth inside of you. And when you do that consistently, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you become stronger, more anchored, more resilient. You stop flinching at rejection. You stop crumbling at criticism because you know who you are, and that knowing can't be shaken by shallow opinions. This is your moment to break free from the prison of playing it safe. This is your invitation to finally live loud, love hard, speak boldly, and move with intention. No more hiding, no more apologizing, no more waiting for a sign. You are the sign, you are the answer, and you are the fire that no fear, no failure, and no person can extinguish. Everything you've been searching for already exists within you. Now is the time to stop searching and start becoming, fully, fiercely, unapologetically. You do not need to explain the fire inside you to those still shivering in their comfort zones. You do not need to convince anyone of your vision when your soul has already seen it clearly. Let them misunderstand you. Let them question you. Let them doubt you. Because every time they do, they give you the chance to prove not to them but to yourself that your power was never dependent on their understanding. You are here to disrupt the ordinary, not to be accepted by it. You are here to build something unshakable within, not to wait for permission from people who are still afraid of their own light. It takes courage to walk alone when the crowd is going in the opposite direction. It takes strength to keep showing up when everything in your past tells you to quit. But you are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your trauma. You are the choice to rise anyway, the decision to evolve anyway, the relentless force that refuses to be defined by circumstances that were meant to break you. You are the living proof that resilience is louder than fear, that healing is louder than history, and that purpose is louder than any excuse trying to keep you stuck. There will be moments when doubt whispers that you're not enough. Moments when fear paralyzes your progress. Moments when the noise outside tries to drown out the clarity within. In those moments, you must anchor yourself in truth. You must remember who you are when everything tries to make you forget. You must remind yourself that you have already survived worse, that you have already walked through storms that others didn't even see, and still you are here, still you rise. Still, you move forward, not because it's easy, but because the fire in your soul refuses to die. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to have it all figured out to take the next step. All you need is the audacity to believe that you are worthy of the life you envision. The courage to take action even when fear is present. The discipline to stay focused even when distractions scream for your attention. And the self-respect to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your highest standard. Because what you tolerate becomes your truth. What you settle for becomes your ceiling. And you were not born to live beneath your potential. This is your moment to stop shrinking and start expanding, to stop overthinking and start doing, to stop seeking permission and start leading your own life. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you crave. That is your responsibility. That is your mission. That is your power. So take the weight off your shoulders, stand up, breathe deep, and walk boldly into the version of you that no longer apologizes for taking up space. Because you're not just capable, you're ready. You don't need a sign to start. You don't need a perfect plan to act. You don't need the world to cheer for you to decide you're enough. What you need is to own the truth. You are already equipped. You are already capable. You are already enough. The voice that tells you to wait, to hesitate, to hold back until you're more ready. It's the same voice that's kept millions stuck in lives they didn't choose. Silence that voice with action. Overpower it with discipline. Crush it with relentless self-respect. You don't need to believe every doubt your mind presents. You only need to choose the thoughts that move you forward. Every minute you waste seeking validation is a minute you steal from your evolution. Every time you compare your journey to someone else's, you poison your momentum with fiction. Their path was never meant to look like yours. Their timing has nothing to do with your destiny. You are not behind. You are not late. You are in the exact moment where your power begins to sharpen. If you keep showing up, keep refining, keep adjusting, your breakthrough becomes inevitable, but it demands your refusal to quit. It demands your decision to hold the line when no one's watching. It demands your loyalty to the future you, even when the present feels like chaos. Pressure is not punishment, it's preparation. Pain is not weakness, it's transformation. Every moment you feel stretched, overwhelmed, or unsure, you are being pulled closer to your higher self. Growth is not supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to disrupt the parts of you that were built for survival, not greatness. And the more discomfort you learn to endure, the more unstoppable you become. Most people want the outcome but avoid the process. They want the reward but skip the resistance. But you are not most people. You are the exception. You are the few who choose to burn through doubt instead of folding beneath it. Your power lives in your patterns. Your destiny is shaped by the small decisions no one sees. How you speak to yourself in silence. What you do when the excitement is gone. What standards you enforce when no one's applauding. That's where real strength is forged. Not in moments of hype, but in the quiet hours where consistency becomes your identity. If you want a different future, don't wait for it. Build it with your choices. Stack the habits. Protect the mindset. Eliminate what drains your energy. Elevate what multiplies your vision. You are not here to cope. You are here to conquer. You are not here to adjust to limits. You are here to erase them. You are not here to be liked. You are here to lead yourself with such precision, such hunger, such inner fire that doubt has no room to breathe. Keep going, keep climbing, keep sharpening, because this is not the end. This is the edge of everything powerful waiting to be claimed by the version of you who finally decides, I am done playing small. You were not born to repeat cycles. You were not created to live on autopilot, to dim your instincts, or to bury your potential beneath excuses dressed as logic. Every second you hesitate, you reinforce a cage you were meant to break. But the key has always been within you. It is your refusal to tolerate mediocrity. It is your daily decision to rise, even when nothing around you gives you permission. The standard you accept is the reality you live. And when you raise that standard, everything around you must either elevate or exit. You are not here to negotiate your worth, you are here to declare it. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. It's not punishment, it's not restriction. It's a deep declaration that you will not betray yourself again. It's the promise that you will not hand over your peace, your health, or your future to temporary urges or fleeting comfort. Weak impulses do not deserve strong reactions. Not every craving deserves your attention. Not every emotion deserves your obedience. You are not your moods. You are not your fatigue. You are not your fear. You are the force that moves through them without flinching, without collapsing, without giving in to the noise. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you stretch your identity. You expand the boundaries of what you believe is possible. And in that discomfort, something begins to shift. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop hoping for ease. You stop needing perfect conditions. You realize that greatness is not a feeling, it's a habit. And those who build it are the ones who stop waiting to be motivated. They act because they said they would. They follow through because they owe it to the future they're building, not the mood they're in. You do not need to feel ready. You need to be relentless. You need to show up when it's boring. You need to move when it's hard. You need to push when everything in you wants to coast. That's how character is carved. That's how confidence is earned. Not through results alone, but through the integrity of your daily execution. You were never meant to be average. But the price of excellence is discomfort, and the cost of staying the same is far greater than the pain of change. Nothing meaningful happens without resistance. Every time you step forward, the old you will try to pull you back. But you are not going back. You are not shrinking. You are not watering down your potential just to be accepted by people who fear their own reflection. This is the moment you make a silent vow that you will not stop, that you will not stall, that you will not surrender to the part of you that wants to remain small. Your power is not in what you say. It is in what you do repeatedly. Choose progress over perfection. Choose effort over excuses. Choose evolution over comfort. Because you are done waiting. You are done doubting. You are becoming.